Okay.
Simar, just one question here. If the USL is not specified by the customer, ideally the USL formula is three times mean. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So we will get into that calculation also when we will do the normality distribution, when we
Okay.
will calculate how do we do that.
Sure.
So either one of them is there. If we only have USL or LSL, then we will not be able to calculate CP. So if there is only one specification limit, probably you try to add another. But in case if you could not have both, then in that case we will not be able to calculate CP. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I was talking about three conditions here, which can happen in CP. When do we call CP is less than 1? When CP will be smaller than 1, when the process by design will only create defects, which means, let's say I have a LSN and I have a USN, okay, which means my specification limit, which is defined by the customer, okay, is not is outside the normal distribution, which means it's outside the Six Sigma. Then I would say my CP is less than 1. When would I call CP is equal to 1? When CP of a process will be equal to the normal variation of a process, which will exactly fit between USL and LSL. Okay. In that particular case, process will not create any defects as of now because it's fitting just on the specification limit. Okay. The best case scenario would be when my CP is greater than 1, which means whatever my customer specification is, my LSL or USL, my process is capable of performing more than that. So even though if there's any special cause variation comes, I would not have any kind of defect. Okay. So let me take an example to make you understand. So so we all have seen the garage where we park our cars, or we park our bikes also. Okay. So let's say the length of your garage is let's say 15 meters. Okay. And the size of your car is between 13 to 15 meter. Okay. In that particular case, your car is 15 meter. Okay. The length the length of the garage is 13 to 15. So which means your car would be able to fit at a very uh, misfit side kind of way. Because in case if you try to buy a new car in the future, your garage would not have that much space to get that car. So in that case, you are exactly on the specification limit. So in that case, CP is equal to 1. But if your car size is greater than your garage size, which will not be able to meet the customer requirement, that case CP is less than 1. When do we call CP is greater than 1? When your garage
And the
size
garage
is
size is greater than the car size.
absolutely
In the limit.
yeah. So that is a best case scenario when we call CP is greater than 1. So we will tell you the formula and we'll tell you how to calculate it as well. Yes, please.
Yeah, so as an example, so when in design we are building the garage, we should take into account the future possibilities and design the garage in such a way that even if you are upgrading the car to a longer length, it actually fits into the garage. So that's why the CP should be greater than 1.
Absolutely, because if we do not take the external factors into consideration, we might be good today, but tomorrow with the
Yeah.
external demands, with the competitive advantage comes into picture, I might not be able to meet the customer requirement. Okay, so,
Right,
so,
right.
so that's why CP has to be greater than 1.
This can
So
also
like
be
for
known as,
example, I'm sorry, yeah.
so this is kind of factor of safety now, Simarpreet.
This is factor of safety, factor of meeting the customer requirement both. Yes.
Yeah, so for example, in like when we are, say for example, developing something like in the service industry, maybe some automation stuff or something. So we also go ahead and look into the load, like how much load or the exceptions handlings that we also look into. So
Yeah.
that we keep all those features in effect, so that in future, if anything exceeds the normal, then our product is able to handle that kind of a situation. So that can be an example where CP is greater than 1.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay,
Which
fine. Thanks.
so if my CP is not greater than 1, so for example, you're doing a project, okay, wherein you have LSL and USL, and when you calculate CP, so I'll talk about how to calculate CP also in a while. But let's say if your CP is less than 1, you're doing a project, your CP is less than 1, and you've already been given some instructions by your sponsor to do a project. What would be your situation here? What would you do? What would you call your management?
Sima, could you repeat the question?
Absolutely. So what I'm saying is that let's say you've taken a project of improving the turnaround time, okay, wherein your business has given a limit that all the transactions should be completed within 15 to 30 minutes. Okay, why they've given a limit of 15? Because they suspect if you close before 15 minutes, you might be doing some compromise on the quality. So that's why they've given you a limit of 15 to 30. Okay, so that's what you're doing a project on. And when you do the CP here, you calculate your CP as less than 1. What would you tell your management? So we know if CP is less than 1, which means this is not able to meet the customer requirement as of now only. Means the design is not good enough. What would you do in that case? So that is my question. What would you tell your management?
Then we will, improve the process. Then we'll work on. We'll see
Redesign the process.
We'll see why it is, why we are not able to have the CP at least equal to 1.
Yeah.
And we'll find the cause, and then we will, resolve
Redesign.
get our process within the process capability of 1 at the very least.
First thing which you want to do is, first we need to definitely inform the management. Second thing we have to do is we have to identify that process gap due to which my CP is less than 1. Okay, it is very, very important to identify that process gap by doing discussion with the team that we have calculated the CP here and it has come out to be less than 1. So in that case, I have to study my entire process altogether and identify that particular case and prepare an action plan for it. And say that, this is something which we need to work on while working on the project as well. And if we are able to fix that quickly, then we can proceed further. Okay, so this is the thing that we have to do at that point in time if CP is less than 1. Talk to the management and try identifying that particular one thing which is leading to CP less than 1, so that we can work on that issue. Now let's understand how to calculate CP. What is the formula for CP? As I said, CP's formula is USL minus LSL upon 6 standard deviation. Okay, and so let's do that, and then we will learn CPU as well. So CP formula is equal to USL minus LSL divided by 6 standard deviation. Okay. So for that, I should have the standard deviation. And so let's say my USL is 15 minutes, LSL is 5 minutes, and my standard deviation is, let's say, 4. Okay. So how I'll calculate CP? Can someone calculate CP for me? So I will
divided by 42.
So 15 minus 5 will be 10. So 10 divided by 24. Because 6 standard deviation, right? My CP has come out to 0.416667. It's less than 1, right?
Yeah.
right? Is because there's a lot of standard deviation. The moment I change the standard deviation here, okay, I think it is 2 into 6, it is 12. 0. It's coming out to be near than 1. Okay, so which means that it is a standard deviation, which means there's a lot of variance in the process. You remember we learned basic stats last week where we learned.
Yeah.
So this is the same standard deviation I'm referring to. Okay, so this is how we can calculate CP. Okay, so it could be a possibility that I need to look at why there is a lot of variance in the process, and therefore I'll be able to make a conclusion. So let me give you another scenario. My USL is 25, my LSL is 20, and standard deviation is